Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range. I'm here with James Reeves of TFBTV, and I am sort of nominally still on TFBTV but haven't had any time to do it for ages. But James was here on holiday and very kindly invited me to dinner last night. So we had a very nice dinner at
it was delightful.
A traditional restaurant, several sherbets afterwards. And it's the morning after, so here we are. I thought I'd take the opportunity to discuss things. We haven't actually planned what we're going to say, so we're just going to see how it goes. Should we just start on a non-gun point of general agreement between us? Shorts should be.
What, agreement? We're in agreement? Good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Yes, shorts, thumbs up. It's funny. I feel like I've told this story like 100,000 times, but I didn't really know that I was a freak until I got on YouTube, because I'm from Florida originally. I like wearing shorts because they're comfortable and because you get like some good mobility if you need it. And so I didn't think anything of it, and then I start wearing like my regular rotation of shorts on YouTube, and everybody is like, who is this complete and total asshole? And I had no idea until I got on YouTube that it was like a dick thing to wear shorts. But I'm glad we're in agreement.
I always hated knee length and below the knee. It's like
no, I'm not a basketball player. What's wrong with you?
It's like trousers, shorts, and everything in the middle's a bit. What?
Yeah. Just looks bad. They're like capris. Yeah. I mean, if you tighten them, you go like knee length. You tighten them, you got lederhosen. It's asinine.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's that one
out of the way.
Out of the way.
One, yeah.
Done.
Handled.
Right. I like old guns.
I do not.
You do not. So this is more of a point of contention. Why do you not like old guns?
I purely see guns as tools. Never been a collector. There's not one gun in my collection that I couldn't get rid of tomorrow. I mean, my first gun ever that I owned myself, other than like little 22s or whatever that you were gifted. Like the first gun I actually saved up, I had like a big pickle jar, seriously, and saved up my allowance. And I think when I was 12, my mom let me get a Remington 870 20 gauge. I sold that son of a bitch like when I was 18 or 19 years old, because I was like, I'm going to buy something cooler than this. So I have no sentimental attachment whatsoever to guns. I don't collect them. I don't want one. I don't want one where it's like, oh, I can't get rid of this. Like, this is a special thing. So for me, they're tools. I mean, they're break them, beat them up, whatever. I mean, it's not, to me, not a big deal.
Whereas my experience of it has all been very different. Went into it through target shooting, because tools for target shooting and the normal target shooting we were doing was a bit on the slow side, and in the UK there was sort of practical shotgun, but I never really did much of that when I was there. And then the historic stuff, which was sort of the more interesting side of it. And as a sort of general philosophical point, we were discussing this a bit last night, is that you don't really get to choose what you're interested in, what you get excited about. It just sort of happens, and it sort of happened that I like old guns. I like old tech in general.
Sure, you're a hipster a little bit. I get it. Gun hipster. No, you don't want to admit to it, but I see what it is.
In denial.
So yeah, shorts, awesome. Old guns, not awesome. Next. Setting the agenda on your show. What a day.
I'm going to turn this around. What do you think I think about Glocks?
I mean, it blows my mind when I find people that think Glocks are not totally awesome. So I would assume that you would think that they kick ass. If you don't, we can't be friends. No, dude, I talked to like Tim, Military Arms Channel. Like, he's a guy. It's so funny because he's so CZ oriented, and he's like a big like CZ P10, CZ 75 guy. And but he's like, yeah, I don't have a problem with Glocks. And I mean, I don't think he actually has a problem with SIG, notwithstanding the fact that he is like always kind of on their asses. But I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, Clint Smith, 1911 guy, famed 1911 guy. He's like, I don't have a problem with Glocks. I own a bunch. So I would assume it'd be the same for you. You tell me.
It more or less is. I don't own any yet, but for what I do, pistol-wise, it's usually 25 meter and 50 meter precision shooting.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to do that.
So there are guys that shoot Glocks. They are allowed in the competitions because the Swiss military police actually have them.
Okay, cool.
Interestingly enough, so they're on the list. Mm-hmm. They can be used.
Nice.
But with the spongy trigger compared to a SIG 210, they're
no comparison.
Not really there.
No comparison. Yeah, I agree.
And when I first handled Glocks years ago, more than a decade ago in Holland, I struggled with the spongy trigger until someone turned around to me and said, you're a double action revolver shooter. Yeah. Why do you have a problem with a long spongy trigger?
Yeah.
And, what? Okay, so just treat the trigger like a double action revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, 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 and I was hitting.
Yeah. Just needed like a philosophical reset.
It was, you've got to stop thinking that this is a normal pistol trigger and start thinking of it as something that more resembles a double action revolver. And then suddenly, because I can hit with a double action revolver, I could hit with it. And then at Finished Brutality, which was this month, it's now September, so a couple of weeks ago, my loaner pistol was a Glock 17. Thank you, Hemo, for that. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And given that I want to try and do some more of this type of shooting, if I find the time, I might try and get on the IPSC circuit here, and I will definitely shoot a Glock if I'm not shooting a revolver.
Sure.
Because
that's the gun ever made. We're finishing each other's sentences. See, I knew that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, for anything other than precision target work, they are perfect. They fit my hand. I like the grip angle. Revolver guy again. They're great.
Yeah,
really, really great. And people who rag on them are wrong.
Shorts awesome. Old guns suck. Glocks awesome. Next.
You did Thunder Ranch recently.
Yes.
And it was the first time you'd shot reasonably long distance. How long distance was it?
So, first time ever that so we're shooting this really neat course. Clint has this thing, I think he calls it the wall, and it's basically that exactly. It's a wall with a bunch of holes cut out, and then he's got flags on the inside of the wall that you're shooting from, and then there are targets on top of the berm, in front of the berm, so on. And he puts these flags, and you jam your carbine barrel through the hole where the flag is, and you fire at the respective targets. And then at the very end of that, so all of these are like 50 to 75 meters. At the very end, you go prone, and there's a silhouette target at 200 meters that's kind of hidden in the woods, which is kind of cool. Like you're shooting upwards into the woods. And I was like, wow. Prior to that, the longest distance I'd shot was 188 yards at Tier 1 group in 2011. And that was, I forget the zero, but I think it's like 25 or maybe, I think 25 and 188.
Yeah.
No. If you zero at like 25 yards, then I think the apex is 188. That's like the highest point.
Okay.
So as they did that, it was illustrative, and now I'm droning on and on about this instead of answering your damn question. So I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot into the woods at this 200 meter target. I'm like, hey, this is the furthest I've ever shot. Then we went out to the precision rifle range and shot at 200, 300, 400, 500. And the first time I ever shot at 500 yards, it was a hit. You know, I thought that was cool. I used an arrow with a 16-inch ballistic advantage 1-in-8 twist stainless steel barrel, and I was really impressed with that. So it was like, wow, this is the first time I'm shooting 200, first time I'm shooting 300, first time I'm shooting 400. So that was neat. So 500 is the longest I've ever shot. Longest, most boring answer to a relatively simple question. I'm sorry.
This is lead-in. This is my experience coming from a target rifle background, where first did that when I was 14 at Bisley, because went to school like 25 minutes from Bisley ranges. In that world, short range is 300, 500 and 600 yards, and long range is 900 and 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, it seems really, for me, oh my gosh, I'm distracted. There's a guy who's like got a big fucking fish in that. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Holy smokes. Sorry, anyways, distracted, but that was a large fish.
That's a nice pike, yeah.
So, no, for me, I mean, the amount of concentration and patience and math that it requires to shoot at those distances, it's just not my thing. It was cool to do. The next time I shoot at 500 yards, it may never happen again the rest of my life. I mean, you know, I thought it was neat. You know, hopefully I never have to do it again.
Well, another time when you're here, we'll try and get you out at 300 meters on a 300 meter range here.
Sure, I'd love that.
Shooting a Sturmgewehr 90 or something for the modern
I don't
drastic
even know what
plastic.
that is, but yeah,
Sig,
whatever.
Sig 550.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know what that is.
Not an AR-15.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. Like, I love the 55X series, you know?
You see, I'm going to probably get my citizenship request turned down on the basis of what I'm going to say next.
Uh-oh.
Which is, they're not a patch on an AR-15.
What? The
550, the full length, is not a patch on a full length 20-inch AR.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're front heavy.
Sure.
The impulse recoil, because they're front heavy, and like an AK, the center of mass that moves is kind of high. They kind of shlull up, whereas an AR.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, yeah, you get that like a sharp light, kind of like a snap versus like a clunky push.
Yeah, with the 550, it's a clunky push, and there's more muzzle rise. I mean, here they're shot almost exclusively off the bipod. And in Holland, IPSC rifle, there was loads of people who wouldn't buy an AR on principle that everyone's got ARs and they're unreliable and all these other nonsense myths people believe.
Yeah.
So they'd buy a 550 for a huge price, more than they'd have had to spend on an AR. Discover they can't keep up. So then they think, okay, I need a muzzle brake. Oh, well, I can't unscrew it because it's integrally formed in the barrel. So then they have to get the end of the barrel cut off and threaded, and they still can't keep up, and then ultimately they buy an AR.
They relent, realize, that's awesome.
There's a reason why they're kind of the standard.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like Clint Smith again, Thunder Ranch. Just really funny. Every time he mentioned like anything, like the ultimate anything, it's God and Eugene Stoner. It's like he was like, God and Eugene Stoner made it so like, your thumb works this way, and it's like, God and Eugene Stoner working in collaboration created the AR-15. So he's got a big crush on the platform. Yeah. So yeah, they're great. So AR-15s, awesome. Old guns, not.
Now, I'm not going to try and convince you you're wrong about old guns, because for your uses as tools, you're absolutely right. And my old guns thing comes from, they were the cool guns that we could own, and sort of Mad Minute competitions, things like that. I mean, what I like about them is showing what they're actually capable of, because they're massively underrated, except Mosins, which for some reason are massively overrated.
Yeah.
There is no advantage to a rifle that once it gets warm, or even some of them when they're even cold, you have to beat open with the ball of your hand. There is no plus point, and I like them.
Straight in the trash. Yeah. Awful.
They have a thing. They have a certain cachet. I've owned several of them in my life. I own one right now, but it's the Hungarian sniper I did on TFB. I want an infantry one again. I want to show what they're capable of, but they're just not a patch on practically anything else. But I really do enjoy showing how fast I can go with an Enfield in particular, and I'm hoping that I'll have something bolt action and fun to do at Finish Brutality next year, just because I can, and because that sort of thing.
I mean, to me, it's like to me, it's like some asshole juggling bowling pins. It's like, okay, that looks cool or whatever, but zero pragmatic skills.
Unless you're in an environment where that's the only thing you can have.
That's true. I mean, that is a good point, but the thing is, that isn't necessarily the case for you, is it?
No, not at all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Finish Brutality this time, I shot an Australian foul, because it's my old gun interest, and I
don't consider that to be an old gun, by the way, but that's a separate story.
They're obsolescent.
So if you look at like the DSA improved FAL, that's a good example of. I mean, it still uses a short stroke piston system, just like the AK-47, which came out in the 40s. Uses a long stroke piston system and there are still guns today that use long stroke.
Sig 550.
Right, precisely. And then you've got a short stroke piston operating system, which I consider to be more sophisticated than even the long stroke. The FAL's been using that for, 70 years now, thereabouts. And so, like, with the DSA is a good example, because they're really the only ones doing it. But if you can get a solid base for an optic, you can shorten that thing down from 21 inches. You can accurize it. You can make it lighter. You can make it so you can mount accessories, make it a little more ergonomic, a little more mobile with like the folding stock. You're looking at a modern firearm as far as I'm concerned. So, is something like the Scar L better, perhaps.
I've never had one in my hands.
Yeah, well, or the Scar H or L. You know, is that something better? Perhaps it is. But, I mean, still, it's nothing to scoff at. Like, so I don't consider those to be old guns. We kind of went off on a tangent on the FAL because I'm a big fan of the platform. I don't consider it to be obsolete. Perhaps, like, as issued, you know, in, like, whatever, the 50s and 60s, like, as issued, is that perhaps obsolete? Yes. But I think you can take the platform. You don't have to do much to it. No gunsmithing, truly, and make a modern platform out of it.
So FAL versus AR-10.
I mean, that's the thing, is it's like, and now you don't know it, but you're working me back around to like the old gun nostalgia, where it's like, I think the AR-10 is probably a better platform, but the FAL is just more fun, you know? Like, it's...
Why?
Not because it's older, but, you know, just, I think that the FAL is one of the sexiest guns. That was, a lot of people don't know this. I think I mentioned it recently on a TFBTV video where that was, I had a FAL before I had an AR-15. So like my first AR-15 was Bushmaster XM, what is it, A3 XM15, I believe is what the Patrolman's carbine is. That was the first one I had, but prior to that, I had a matching gear upper-lower M-belt. That was, you know, of course, like put together by some asshole. It was reasonably reliable, reasonably accurate. So I mean, I think they're sexy. But they're not obsolete or antiquated, or rather, you can modify them so that they'll keep up with most modern platforms. That's the way I feel.
Okay. Because I mean, my history with these is I had a British L1A1 FAL.
Inch gun.
On this channel, it's God's own bang stick. I'll have you know.
Okay.
Ironically, I had an original AR-10, Dutch-made one, which was I rate as better than the FAL.
Oh sure.
The FAL ultimately I didn't bring with to Switzerland. The AR-10 I traded in for an AR-15 actually for competition shooting.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, I've said this in a video for Finished Brutality, and Carl agrees entirely. Stoner was right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the original AR-10 is absolutely awesome for the era. It's late 50s. It's aside from the fact it's in a big cartridge rather than a much more handleable one. It is the tits.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you say.
Yeah.
And it can keep up.
You guys don't do 300 blackout around here, do you?
Not particularly, because there's no real sort of need for it. It's on the market, people buy it, but the cost of the ammo is just insane. Depending on the canton you're in, you can buy a suppressor and use it, but there's little point. It has no niche.
I see.
Particularly here.
Love blackout. Yeah, absolutely love it. Yeah, great cartridge. So I was just curious.
The one thing that worries me about blackout is the mixing of ammo.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, it's going to blow some idiots up, no question.
Yeah.
But, you know, I might be one of those idiots someday, but totally worth it. I mean, that, you know, for me, that's not like, I see that often, people comment like, oh yeah, you know, 300 blackout, totally unsafe because of how easily it can be mixed with 223, 5.56. And to me, that is just such cars totally overrated. I mean, you know, they go fast, you can get in an accident, you know, you can run into a tree or a clown or somebody's dog. You know, it's like, come on, what kind of argument is that? You know, it's like it's an inherently unsafe hobby, so to speak. You know, it's like stunt driving or riding a motorcycle or whatever. It's not the safest thing that you can do. So for me, when people say like, hey, this isn't safe, it's like, okay, well, be as safe as you can be. So I just consider it a non-argument.
Okay. We actually have quite a lot of ammo mix-ups here because we have 9mm para and 765 para.
Oh yeah,
30 Luger,
right,
for inch people.
Sure.
And well, they used to be in very similar boxes. So there was even some that was misboxed. A while back, there was a batch that had the wrong labels on it. And particularly when you get old guys who are long-sighted, they've got their shooting glasses on, they've got one of each gun, they pick up the wrong ammo, and they put 765 para in their 9mm gun, or vice versa. It's not a safety issue because the 9mm just won't chamber. And the 765 para will chamber, fire, won't cycle, won't hit the target. But it can sometimes take people a few
to
attempts
figure it out.
to figure it out,
That's funny.
working out what's going on. So I mean, the ammo mix-up thing, having seen it live in a luckily a safe mix-up combination, to me it is an issue. But yeah, you should be paying attention. It's not like you've been operating for 48 hours and you're completely tired and your unit's mixed up. You've got two types of ammo in your unit. Someone dumps ammo into your helmet.
Just sticking around at the range.
Yeah,
you should pay more attention. Sure.
Yeah. So I've now got into this brutality thing. Are you going to get into it?
We talked about it. See, he's asking me knowing what the answer is already. We talked about it yesterday. Yes. Whether or not it's this time or the next time, I am going to do a brutality match. I love you to death. I love my buddy Carl to death. Giga was at finished brutality, so it's like you're like three of my favorite people, at least in the gunverse and possibly in the world, but in the gunverse. And so I was really jealous whenever I saw like you guys hanging out, having a good time. It's right up my alley, like fitness, guns. It's like I should have done one already, so I will do one. Yes,
awesome.
There, commitment.
Yeah, it is on the YouTubes. It must happen.
That's right. Yeah, it must happen now. Otherwise, I get called out.
Yeah. So, right, let's wrap that up there. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Yeah, this is Mike's country. He had me. He invited me here. Had to go through the embassy. No, it's not your country yet. You got 2 years. They don't know that it's your country yet. So, thank you for having me on Bloke on the Range. I hope I didn't ruin it by.
I ruin it with every video I do. So, James runs TFBTV. They have Patreon. Do you have a personal Patreon as well?
No, just TFBTV, and because of Patreon, they have been a bunch of dickheads. Tremendous dickheads, telling us what we can and can't do off their site. Like on YouTube. So we're working away from Patreon. We still have Patreon. Patreon.com/TFBTV. If you're on Patreon, support would be nice. Subscribestar.com/TFBTV. That's where everybody's kind of flocking now because, they sent me a very nice email. They said, hey, we're very pro-gun here. We're glad to have you. It was really nice of them. So Subscribestar/TFBTV doesn't go into my pocket. That goes to paying guys like Mike whenever he gets off his dead ass and does another video for TFBTV. It goes to paying you guys, paying for the content and equipment and so on. It doesn't pay for fancy Swiss vacations.
No, this is just a coincidence.
Yeah. Pure coincidence.
James was here anyway.
Yeah. So it worked out.
Yeah. So, thanks for watching, and see you again. Bye.